compiled in the Newstalk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
A very good morning to you. With the news at this time, I am Deanna Jordan. The news comes to you with the compliments of Eureka Medical Laboratories. To begin the news, here's a look at the leads. The High Court is being asked to quash the Natural Resource Fund legislation. Residents of Kokwani no longer have to travel to Berbice to seek justice. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago is being told to prepare for drier days ahead. And for the international news, we'll bring to you the latest news bulletin from the BBC World Service. The details of these and other stories will be coming up in just a moment.
A COVID-19 PCR test is now mandatory for many routine activities, including travel and return to work purposes. At Eureka, our trained and experienced staff will ensure confidentiality while your test is conducted in a professional and timely manner, with results in just 48 hours. So the next time you require an efficient and hassle-free PCR COVID-19 test, call 624-8378, 608-8378, or 623-7233 to schedule your appointment. You can also ask about our house call testing service.
And now the news in detail. Opposition Partnership for National Unity plus Alliance for Change Chief Whip Christopher Jones and trade unionist Norris Witter are challenging the constitutionality of the Natural Resource Fund. They want the High Court to quash that legislation since they believe it was not properly passed by the National Assembly due to the absence of the Speaker's mace and a lack of consultation. The High Court is being asked to order the Natural Resources Fund Act 2021, subsequent orders and regulations, all actions taken by anyone, including the Minister of Finance and the Constitution of the NRF Board, are all null and void and to be of no force and effect. Messrs. Jones and Witter are seeking a High Court declaration that the executive's failure to constitute the Constitutional Human Rights Commission violates the Constitution, and so the Attorney General must be directed to set up such a body. Another order being sought is for the NRF to be replenished of any monies taken out of the fund. The applicants say neither they nor other stakeholders had been consulted before the bill was tabled in the National Assembly, and this violates Article 13 of Guyana's Constitution and the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, to which Guyana is a party. Several APNU plus AFC parliamentarians had disrupted the proceedings of the National Assembly by blowing whistles, pacing around the chamber, dragging the mace and taking it outside, and allegedly disconnecting the internet and audio connections while the finance minister had been speaking on the bill. The finance minister had been encircled by government parliamentarians during his presentation. APNU plus AFC parliamentarian Annette Ferguson had later admitted to removing the mace because she had been fed up that calls for consultation about the bill had been ignored. Governance and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Gil Teixeira then put the bill to a vote, and it was passed by a simple majority. House Speaker Manzoor Nadir had later told reporters that a replica mace had been used and that the bill had been properly passed by the House. ExxonMobil will spend $10 billion on developing the Yellowtail oil discovery offshore Guyana over the next 3 years. Monday's announcement came just days after the Environmental Protection Agency granted a permit and the Ministry of Natural Resources issued the license, both for Yellowtail. President of ExxonMobil Guyana, Alistair Routledge, says Yellowtail is expected to begin commercial oil production in 2025.
This fourth project in the Stabroek Block is expected to produce approximately 250,000 barrels of oil per day starting in 2025. increasing our total capacity to approximately 800,000 barrels per day.
Mr. Routledge says Yellowtail has almost 1 billion barrels of oil to be extracted.
Production from the One Guyana Floating Production, Storage and Offloading Vessel, or FPSO, will target an estimated resource base of more than 900 million barrels of oil. The project will include 6 drill centres and up to 26 production and 25 injection wells.
President of ExxonMobil Guyana, Alistair Routledge. The University of Guyana is training trainers of the Guyana Police Force as part of a strategy to retool the police academy. Through UG's Center of Excellence for Teaching and Learning, 75 police training officers have been equipped with the required skills. Instructional delivery topics included instructional strategies, policing in a culturally diverse background in the Guyanese setting, reflexive praxis, Bloom's taxonomy, and teaching adult learners, among other things. The course consists of 3 levels, and this is the beginner's level. UG says participants for this course were selected by the Guyana Police Force based on the tertiary institution's criteria. The Train the Trainers course began on March 2, 2022 and ran for 2 weeks. The course consisted of 13 modules. Each module provided trainers with a range of knowledge, skills, and competencies related to instructional design, instructional delivery, and assessment, both face-to-face and online. UG says the course aimed to increase the teaching repertoire and build the teaching capacity of the GPF trainers. They were provided with strategies, concepts, knowledge, and skills that they can implement in the classroom. The General Workers Union, GWU, says it is mobilizing solidarity from other trade unions and civil society organizations to pressure the government into agreeing to increase the minimum wage. Back in 2019, the Tripartite Committee under the APNU plus AFC government had decided that the minimum wage would increase from $40,400 to $60,000. After the PPP took office in August 2020, Labour Minister Joseph Hamilton had supported the increase, but Cabinet was yet to give its approval. President of the GWU, Norris Witter, said other stakeholders are being asked to join in the struggle for the increase in the minimum wage.
This is an opportunity for us to separate the sheep from the goat. We will know who are the true labor leaders and who are the ones who are pretending and parading, right, to be labor leaders. We did not directly invite any union. We made at our initial protest on last Friday, we made a public call, right? But we will go beyond that. We are going to write to each individual unions by midweek. You understand? Setting out very clearly, right, what our intention is and invite them to join us in solidarity.
The Guyana Trades Union Congress, Clerical and Commercial Workers Union, and the General Workers Union have so far endorsed the decision to pressure the government to increase the minimum wage. Residents of Kokwani in Region 10 no longer have to travel to Berbice to seek justice. The community of about 4,000 residents now have a court. The more than 37 million Guyana dollars court was officially declared open last week. Chancellor of the Judiciary, Justice Yonette Cummings Edwards, says while everyone at Kokwani knows each other, the law is broken at times, and so the court will help to uphold the rule of law. The Kokwani court will sit twice per month. And now in the regional news. Farmers and other residents in Trinidad and Tobago are being urged to conserve water because drier days are coming. Trinidad and Tobago's Newsday reports that the Meteorological Service has predicted drier than average conditions in April. The Met Service also predicts near average rainfall and above average temperatures during the next 3 months. The country can expect mostly dry conditions from April 15 to the 21st and 22nd to the 28th. The Met Service declared the start of the dry season on January 6th. Trinidad and Tobago's chief climatologist Kenneth Kerr had predicted a drier than usual dry season, with February being the driest month of 2022. He said February to April was expected to be the driest period of the season, with a few relatively chilly nights when temperatures were expected to fall below 20 degrees. In a rainfall and temperature outlook update on Monday, the Met Office said there is a possibility of near-average rainfall between April and June. The period of excessive heat buildup in the coming months will likely put a strain on water and power utilities and health services. The high temperatures may also set back the improvements made at the Water and Sewerage Authority reservoirs from the rainfall of February and March. From its predictions, the Met Office has asked the public to conserve water, be aware of agricultural pest and disease control measures and bushfire risk, and revisit operational and contingency plans to manage dust or smoke-related respiratory ailments. From early July into August and September, the outlook is far below normal rainfall across the country. The Bahamas Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper says the age of consent should be raised to 18 to further protect minors. His comment came after Minister of Social Services and Development, Obi Wilcombe, said the Office of the Attorney General was looking to address inconsistencies in the age of consent. Mr. Cooper explains that this will further protect minors and make clear that children who cannot drink alcohol, join law enforcement, open a bank account, stand before a court as an adult, or vote, for example, cannot reasonably consent to sex with an adult. This comes after a 40-year-old man was given a 4-year sentence in a plea deal for unlawful sexual intercourse with a 14-year-old girl who was also pregnant. After the man completes his prison term, he will be on probation for 3 years. The sentence prompted outcry from some people that it was too lenient. However, National Security Minister Wayne Monroe has suggested the sentence was too severe, telling reporters that had he defended the man, he would have argued it was not rape and that the girl consented. This statement led to backlash and calls for Mr. Monroe's resignation. Guyanese are among the estimated 2,000 persons who have been granted an immigration amnesty in Antigua and Barbuda. Syrians, nationals of the Dominican Republic, and Jamaica are also among those who can now apply for residency or citizenship of Antigua and Barbuda. On March 1st, immigrants who have settled in Antigua and Barbuda over the years were given 2 months within which to regularize their immigration status without any penalty for living in the country illegally. The Immigration Department began processing scores of applications a day, with those granted amnesty now able to move along to obtain citizenship or residency. Antigua Newsroom reports that according to Chief Immigration Officer Katrina Yearwood, successful applicants will be given amnesty certificates. She said the department is already booked for the rest of the amnesty period, which ends on April 30th, unless the government decides to grant an extension. The immigration boss went on to rebuff the notion among some that the amnesty initiative is a trap. Last month, the government said there were no current plans to extend the amnesty period, despite the fact the Immigration Department continues to be inundated with inquiries from prospective applicants. The government previously announced that numbered application forms would be available for collection at the Immigration Department and the various consulates in Antigua. And now here's the latest bulletin coming from the BBC World Service.
Hello, I'm Debbie Russ with the BBC News. The International Committee of the Red Cross says its team that was detained on Monday while attempting to reach the southern Ukrainian city of Mariupol has been released. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister, Irina Vereshchuk, said the ICRC team had now been taken to the city of Zaporizhia, which is in Ukrainian territory. Danny Eberhardt reports.
The Red Cross has been trying, so far without success, to facilitate evacuations from Mariupol, where conditions are desperate. The estimated 130,000 residents still there have endured more than a month of Russian blockade and bombardment. A small team of Red Cross staff has been trying to get into the city since Friday, hoping to accompany a bus convoy. They were detained by police in Manhush, a town just west of Mariupol that's under Russian control. The Red Cross said their release on Monday night was a great relief. It said the incident highlighted how volatile and complex the evacuation operation was. The team is said to be still focused on continuing that operation.
Fighting is continuing, particularly in eastern Ukraine, where Russian forces have been shelling cities, including Kharkiv and ones in the regions of Luhansk and Donetsk. Luhansk regional governor said Russian forces have hit a tank containing nitric acid in the area of Rubizhna. Serhiy Hedai has posted a picture of a large plume of reddish-brown smoke rising into the sky. He's warning people nearby to stay indoors and use gas masks or moistened face masks. The Ukrainian military says Russian troops have been regrouping ahead of a renewed offensive in eastern Ukraine. Efforts to evacuate civilians from conflict zones are continuing. Satellite images released by the US space technology company Maxar appear to contradict Moscow's claim that the killing of civilians in the Ukrainian town of Bucha happened after its soldiers had left. The New York Times, which has analysed the images, says the shapes of what appear to be bodies shown in the satellite pictures dating from mid-March correspond with the locations of corpses found after Ukrainian forces re-entered Bucha. This shows that many of the civilians were killed more than 3 weeks ago when the town was under Russian control. The Ukrainian MP, Oleksiy Honcharenko, travelled to Bucha and told the BBC what he had seen.
I was 3 days there. It's not only Bucha, which suffered, it's Irpin, Hostomel, Bucha, number of smaller towns and villages in the area to the north and northwest from Kiev. And that is so awful, so horrific picture, I just can't explain you. I saw dozens of bodies of killed people just lying on the streets and just been in their cars burned down.
The United States and the European Union have pledged to support Ukraine's investigation into the killing of civilians in Bucha and other towns. You're listening to the World News from the BBC. The Sri Lankan governing coalition has lost its majority in Parliament after more than 40 MPs walked out of the governing alliance amid growing unrest over an economic crisis. The move could make decision-making tough for President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Here's Ambarasan Etirajan.
Protests have continued in Sri Lanka against the worsening shortage of basic supplies, including fuel and food. Those taking part in the demonstrations are also demanding the resignation of President Rajapaksa, accusing his government of failing to tackle the economic crisis. In the meantime, Ali Sabri, the new finance minister appointed by Mr. Rajapaksa, has resigned a day after he was sworn in for the job. Sri Lanka is facing a severe foreign exchange crisis and struggling to pay for imports of fuel and other goods.
The first trial for war crimes committed in Darfur nearly 20 years ago has begun at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. The trial began with a reading of a summary of the charges against Ali Muhammad Ali Abdul Rahman. He's charged with 31 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity relating to his time as leader of a pro-government militia in the Sudanese region. The ICC prosecutor, Karim Khan, said the trial was significant.
This is a momentous day for the millions of Sudanese throughout the world that have been yearning for this day to come, and for independent and impartial judges of the International Criminal Court to start a process of deliberations, of hearing evidence, weighing evidence, to assess criminal responsibility.
The Saudi-led coalition and the Houthi movement have accused each other of violating the 2-month ceasefire in Yemen. It started on the first day of Ramadan and is intended to provide a basis for pursuing a peace process. Under the terms of the truce, all air, ground and naval military operations are meant to stop. That's the latest. BBC News.
The news came to you with the compliments of Eureka Medical Laboratories.
Don't let the fear of contracting the coronavirus disease deter you from seeking the medical care you need. At Eureka Labs, we ensure the safety of our clients and staff with our rigid sanitization routine. This involves the use of ultraviolet lights to effectively rid the air and all surfaces of viruses and bacteria that may be present throughout the lab daily. The light works to rapidly inactivate microorganisms through a physical process that is invisible to human eye. So the next time you need a checkup, don't hesitate to give us a call on 225-7574 to schedule your appointment.
And now to end the news, here is a recap of the leads. The High Court is being asked to quash the Natural Resource Fund legislation. Residents of Kokwani no longer have to travel to Berbice to seek justice. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago is being told to prepare for drier days ahead. And that's the end of the news.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.